All right, now we arrive at the Fireside chat, and Nan, thank you very much. I was covering you doing the G20 meeting in London, and there's a picture of you with 42 men, or something like that. Do you remember that? You posed for this picture? So, and the reason I have this interest is because when I do the economic challenge, there's plenty of women there, and I think the girls do really good in math and science, and somewhere along the way, we lose them. And I want you to talk about that from two standpoints. One is what you know about the sort of macro issue, but maybe your personal run through this gauntlet here and where you might have been sidetracked and how you were retracked or gotten on track.
So it's a good memory, and you're exactly right. I think one of the things that stands out to me from many of these meetings I attended, there was, I think the meeting you're referring to, we were in a room of all the G20 deputies, and so there's 2 per country, so I think we were about 40 of us.
Oh, I had the number right. Yeah, cool.
Yes, and there was one woman in the room, and we took a picture together. And then we sat down and the pictures were distributed at our seats. And a gentleman next to me who I'd been working with for 2 or 3 years looked at the picture and looked at me and looked at the picture and said, in a sort of European accent, "Lael, do you realize you're the only woman in the room?" And I sort of said, "Yeah." But I do think that was emblematic for me. When I look around the FOMC table, when all of us look around decision-making tables in the world of finance and economics, we all need to be cognizant that diversity of all different kinds is shown in the research to lead to better outcomes, to better deliberations. And yet we, I think, underachieve in terms of demanding that those tables have people of color, different genders, people of different backgrounds coming to that decision-making table. Bringing it back to the discussion this evening, we can either start fixing that problem with the young people that we saw on those screens and the incredible speakers that we had this evening. That's, I think, where we're really going to get a change in the makeup of decision makers if we start young through that education.
Peter, you're in education, and among other things that you do. What kind of special efforts need to be made to make sure that, and we've made great strides here, right? I mean, in terms of the number of women who I cover on the FOMC, bank presidents, that doesn't seem to be as big an issue now, but it is still an issue in the ranks of the Wall Street economists who I talk to, in the ranks of the academic economists who I cover. What kind of special strides need to be made at your level and then afterwards?
Well, I think a key word is access. And so when I think about what the council does, starting with financial literacy, obviously it's a big advantage if you want to go to college to be in a situation where you have sort of personal financial solvency. So that's sort of the first step. It's really important to start there. But beyond that, if you think about just what the numbers tell us, right? If you're born in the top 20% of the income distribution in the United States, you've got an 85% chance of going to college. If you're born in the bottom 20%, you've got an 8% chance of going to college. And the thing that is really striking about those numbers is that if you actually think about who in the United States does really well on standardized tests, it turns out that roughly 1/5 of the kids who score in the top 10% of standardized tests come from the bottom of the income distribution. So a lot of really smart poor kids, as we see into some of the videos here tonight. So in order to do what Lael is suggesting, which is to create a broader conversation with more input to get to better outcomes, we've got to provide more resources to kids who don't have a chance to take the economic education they're getting through their high schools and their grade schools as a result of good work the council's doing, and make sure they've got a pathway to college.
Rebecca, talk about being on the desk at CNBC as the lone woman and 5 men around you. I've watched you play both roles. I've watched you be the lady, and I've watched you be very assertive. But talk about what that's like, because it's not fair the way it works, is it?
Life's not fair. There are pros and cons to everyone in every situation. I think sometimes being the only woman in the room, they remember you. You can stand out, and that can work to your advantage. And then other times, I've been in situations where I'm at a table with men, and I'll speak up, and a man next to me will say, "Oh, that was so brave of you." I'm like, no, it's not. I'm just here because I'm supposed to be here. I think we all just have to be true to who we are. And I love what I do. I love the markets. I love the economy. I love speaking about it. I like being at the table. I belong at the table. I own it. And I think all women should feel that. Doesn't mean you can't be a lady.
Please join me in thanking our 2018 CEE Visionary Award winners.